Empowering the Black community. That is something that a lot of brands aren't really doing right now. But today we're going to be speaking to one that is. The gentleman that we're going to be speaking with is personifies that with the company that he has built and with some of the things that he has done over the last couple of years. And in today's video, we will be discussing that coming up. What is up, guys? Antoine here once again from Mad Talk. Mad Talk is discussing how entrepreneurs and creatives are making a difference in their everyday world. Before we get started today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you will always know when we have new videos coming out. So today we will be speaking with Alex. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. Happy to be in the building. And, for this call too, the homies, they call me Nemo. So y'all can go ahead and call me Nemo as
All
well.
right.
So it's all good.
And Nemo is the CEO of Foolies. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Foolies. Okay.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about Foolies and what exactly that you guys do?
Yeah. So Foolies is a lifestyle and apparel brand. Started about 12 years ago. The goal with Foolies is we're inspiring people to live out their goals and dreams so much that they're called fools for doing so. So that's kind of the essence of the company and what we, kind of project onto the masses. And we normally focus on the culture. We focus on people of color. We focus on millennials. That's kind of our span of people who we feel are advocating for either their own dreams or others, or just trying to make something happen. And if we can be an extra push or just an extra light for them to keep going and to be foolish about whatever it is that they're hoping to do, then that's our goal.
And what's so inspiring to me about what you guys do is that you've taken great strides on even on social media with a lot of things that you do because I don't want to name drop, but I'm gonna make mention of some of the stuff that you've done. You've had you were mentioned in Gary Vee's book Crushing It, and you were also featured on the Oprah Winfrey Network with Essence Magazine as well. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
With those things, like, did you even think that that was going to be possible whenever you graduated from Full Scale? Because I know that you're a Full Scale grad. Did you
Okay.
even think that your brand was going to get to that point where you were getting featured by, you know, like Oprah Winfrey, man? Like that's the big
That's
one. Yeah.
so a little slight, like it's full sale, you know what I'm saying? Just to make sure people know.
Yes.
It's all good. The words can sometimes get a little bit confused sometimes. So the quick answer is no. I mean, when we started this, because it's myself and two other amazing women, Black women, who helped make this ship float. I had no idea, man, that this was gonna go past my homies, because that's what I made it for. I made it for my friends. I made it for the people who were closest to me, and I realized that, my first school that I went to before Full Sail is the University of Florida. So I noticed that people were aspiring doctors, lawyers, scientists, whatever, but they had a cupcake business they were trying to run, or they were singing on the side, or they were doing YouTube videos, or there was always something else that they were doing. If you're Caribbean, you know that sometimes your parents want you to do the doctor, science, law thing, because that
Hmm.
seems to be the most profitable. So I didn't know it was going to go past just my homies who I made it for, who I just wanted to inspire them to go after their dreams, to be great, to be dynamic. And I would have been okay if it stayed there. I know sometimes people have aspirations, like, of course, we want millions thanks to capitalism or whatever else,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
sure. But the big goal was like, how can I do something that if someone Googled me, because I remember reading this in a book from Seth Godin, if someone Googled you after you left this earth, what would Google say about you? And so when I did that many moons ago, I saw that the internet had nothing to say about me, nothing positive, nothing negative, which to me, it's still trash. So I said, okay, well, what can I do to make that impact, that long lasting impact that no matter what, if I'm here or not, if somebody looked me up, they'll be able to go through a track record of like, wow, look at what this guy did, especially one that looked like me.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I wanted it. I want this stuff to go further. I mean, still a desire, but initially that wasn't the thought or the hope. But now, as people keep tugging on me to say, "Hey, man, I love this. I wanted to go elsewhere. Hey, man, I love this. You should get it here." Then people start to make me say, "Ah, maybe okay. Let me dream a little bit bigger. Let me be foolish, right?
Mhm.
About the goals and dreams that I have." So, yeah, man, it's a blessing. And now I want to go even higher and higher. But initially, nah, man. I mean, and that's really the best way to start things. If you're out there trying to build something, do it for your circle, right? Do it for your
Mhm.
friends, and then let it grow from there.
Do you think that there was ever a point in your life that really solidified to you that this was something that you wanted to do?
I think I just kept running back into the same love affair, you know what I'm saying, with
Mhm.
design and marketing and branding and wanting to shake up people's lives. Like it kept just being the same thing that like I would try to go do something else. My first career was in sports medicine. I would
Mhm.
try doing that, but then on the weekends I'd be doing this stuff, right? Or on the off days I'd be doing design work or on when somebody asked me like, "Hey, what do you do?" I would talk more about this, the goal, the
Mhm.
dream, the want to impact the masses versus my career as a sports medicine professional, a massage therapist in my past life. Like I never talked about that stuff. Like I
Mhm.
talked about I want to inspire people to live out their dreams and be foolish. Like I want them to go after it. I want to see my people win, right? I want to get us together in rooms to collaborate. I want us to be creative. Like one day I hope to be able to fund films, right? So,
Mhm.
I don't want Hollywood, black people in Hollywood especially, to be like, oh man, we want to do this black version of Star Wars, but we don't know where we're going to get our money from. So,
Mhm.
prayerfully, I'm not able to do it at this second. But one day I hope to be able to be like, hey, y'all come to Foolies, right? And we'll be able, what's that crazy movie concept? Here's half a mil. Like, let's
Mhm.
get you started, right? Like, that's the dream. And then also to fund Black women that are in the space of gaming,
Mhm.
because there's not a lot of representation for Black women as gamers. And so, like, hey, like, let's be able to put funds behind that. But before I can build my Tyler Perry studios, right?
Mhm.
Let me just keep walking this walk, right? Let me keep doing what I'm doing. Um, and I don't know, that's just what that's what I bite onto. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like that's what I latch onto. And when we ain't winning, when we ain't making sales, when things aren't popping, when we ain't getting enough likes on on the gram,
Mhm.
these are the lifelines that I still keep leaning on to make sure that all right, let's keep at it, let's keep going regardless.
That's really what your why is then, because it's the thing that like keeps moving you, even when it seems like nothing's going right, even when you've been in the game for like 5, maybe 6 years and still haven't gotten to where you want it to be. It keeps you moving. Like, how important is it for, especially black creators to understand their why?
It's tricky because my core why is that I don't want anyone to leave this earth with their blueprint still inside them. I say that because my mom, she lost her life to breast cancer, and she wanted to open up her own hair salon. She had left the nursing industry to become a cosmetologist, and she had the blueprints laid out for her salon, but she never got to actually carry that out. So my goal is I don't want you to leave this earth with your blueprint still inside you, right? So that's like the deepest of the cores, right?
Mhm.
Um, but as an entrepreneur, or just anyone, right? It
Mhm.
gets tricky when you say like, man, you got to know your why. And I want to be honest with people, right? Sometimes we can kind of give out these like really like cool 1 minute
Obscure.
Instagrammy
Yeah, like
answers,
little
right?
things. Yeah.
But you might not know your why in the
Mhm.
beginning, but that's okay. Like if it's just something that lights you up inside,
Mhm.
then start there, right? And I think your why can evolve over time. Like, I don't know if I wanted to fund Black women in the gaming industry or necessarily have the ability to fund Black filmmakers immediately. As we progressed, those things started to come onto me, and I'm like,
Mhm.
cool, join the ride, right? Like in the beginning, it was like, I just want to inspire my friends who aren't going after their dreams.
Mhm.
That was it, right? Very short, very to the point. And if your why is like something like that, or even if your why, like, it's okay if your why is I want to be wealthy, right? I want to We don't have to do all this whole generational curses thing, like
Yeah, like
whatever,
yeah.
right? But right, because that's becoming like a regular narrative.
Yeah.
But like, if your why is just like, hey, I'm just tired of being broke,
Mhm.
cool. But allow yourself to be open minded enough to know that like your why can evolve, your why can change. You can throw on things to the why. Your why can also not be what you started with. You might have started off like, yo, I'm about to get this bread.
Mhm.
And then 10 years later, it's like, man, I want to help the homeless, right? Like, I want to
Mhm.
give back to the youth. I want to pour into college students, like, whatever that may be. So keep your why flexible. Let it start off with whatever that initial thing is. If there's nothing there, that's okay. But over time, if you keep seeing that you keep leaning into it, you're still passionate about it. You just love doing this more than you love, doing what you're normally used to doing.
Mhm.
um, just let that resonate and then just talk to yourself about it. Like, how does this make me feel? Like, how does this make me want to move differently? What do I get joys out of outside of this? Just continue to challenge yourself and question yourself, and then think about people who you want. Who would you love to impact? If the world was yours and you had all the money in it, what would be the first thing you do? And maybe those things start to get you to get triggers as to what could be a why, or multiple whys get added as you kind of go down your road.
Do you feel like because you touched on something so good, like so well here about how like understanding what your why is and understanding that it doesn't have to be this big introcentric like oh I want to be impactful and everything like that. It
Yeah,
could be something simple. I think honestly a lot of times when it comes down when people are trying to find their why, do you feel like people don't want to be completely honest with themselves on why they're truly doing something that they're doing?
yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, look, if you just want to be famous,
Mhm.
like, that's cool too. Because I don't think average basketball player, I don't think their goal is to like, I want to change the world. Like, no, like, I want
Mhm.
to play ball. That's it. Like, I want to play ball. I like playing ball. I see that people who have money play ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's,
Mhm.
it's regular stuff. But then as they go further, right? Like, hey, would you like your own sneaker? Okay, that's cool. Let's put you in this commercial. Oh, okay, that's
Mhm.
cool. People throw in a tagline in that commercial. Now they're associating that tagline to you. Oh, okay, that's dope. Now people talking about, I want to be like Mike. Like, okay, well, they're admiring my hard work and my tenacity, my drive, my willpower. Like, oh, dope. Like, okay, I'm starting to make an impact now. You know what? I'm a LeBron James it. Let me open up a school, right? Like,
Mhm.
had LeBron James wanted to do that day one, that wouldn't have went anywhere. But he
Mhm.
allowed himself to perfect his craft, get established, really lean into his gifts. And then he said, you know what? I got something else on my heart. Let me open up this school, right? Let me make this donation to this company, right? Let me start doing X, Y, Z. So I think it's just letting it, just let it. I won't say naturally happen, but just be inquisitive about what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it. Ask yourself these things every 6 months, yearly. Just reflect, and then once again, could there be more done? Could I throw some more into this pot? And
Mhm.
then start shifting if you want to shift, and just talk to other people. Hear their whys. Hear what they're doing. What's lighting them up inside, right? Because maybe you could take little bits and pieces of theirs, or you could say, hey, you know what? My why is funding her why, right? Like, maybe
Exactly.
you're a successful accountant. Maybe you're making six figures and you're in the tech industry, right? Like, cool. I like what she's doing. I like what he's doing. Here's 100,000. Here's
Mhm.
200K. Here's $50, $100. I just want to fund other people's wives, and that might be your why, and that's okay. Just don't hold too much like fire to it.
Mhm.
Let it evolve. Let it grow. And add more if you feel like you need to later.
Exactly. And I think it's just and again what you're really touching upon here is that it's an evolution thing. It's something that's going to happen over time. What your why is and what makes you happy now is going to be
Mm,
different 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Like, even if you did like from the age of 18 to 38, that's a 20-year span. And
yeah.
if you ask anyone that's like 38 years old right now, they're gonna say, "Hey, I was a different person when I was
Of
18.
course. Of
I had
course.
to grow. I had to grow, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and things change. It
Hmm.
happens. It evolves. Relationships, priorities, like what
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
truly want. It really happens. So I think honestly, having your why is important, and yes, knowing your why is good, but also understanding what do you want to do to just make yourself happy, like what
Right.
that is. And I think that that's the question that we don't understand how to ask ourselves, because like you were saying at the beginning, we live in a very capitalistic society, and sometimes what's going to make us happy might not be the thing that makes us rich, or
Yeah.
makes us wealthy or anything like that.
Or just pay the bills, right?
Yeah, or
What
just
makes me
pay.
happy might not pay the bills right
You know what I mean? Yeah, it
now.
might not just pay the bills right now. So, just I think people just need to get more in tuned with what makes them happy and understanding that. And I think that's gonna make things a little bit better. But I do want to switch gears a little bit in this conversation.
Okay.
I do want to ask you more of technical questions that I
Okay.
think could help especially anyone that's like a black creator, that you're a graphic designer, or if you're getting
Yeah.
into digital arts. What would you say is like maybe, your top 5 things they should do to really get started right now?
That's a good question. I'll do my best.
Mhm.
Not saying everybody needs to go to school, but
Okay.
if you have the funds, think about school. Try it out for a little bit, or something like that. Um, and like I said, I know people are kind of like, "Oh, you don't got to go to school for design," but um, my community that I was able to develop between UF and Full Sail have been the driver behind everything that I'm doing. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So like I have friends and homies that are on my team that I met in college. I've had people who have helped get me into rooms and environments and places that I probably wouldn't have gotten to on my own,
Mhm.
but we went to college together. We had classes together. We ate lunch together. We were in student organizations together. So
Mhm.
if you do go to school, murk the system, right? Like make the connections, like leave with your team, right? If you go to
Mhm.
school and you got this idea to create and design, leave with a web designer that you know, another couple graphic designers, meet some branding and marketing kids, get a
Mhm.
business homie, get somebody who's dope in social media. And before you leave college, leave with a team if you're going to do college. Obviously, other routes, right? Like a second route, they say YouTube and things like that is the best. If you just want to, hey, I just want to like learn this stuff. There's a software that's kind of opposing to Photoshop. It's called GIMP,
Mhm.
GIMP, the free software. Obviously, there's Canva and things of that nature. So that's another, tool that you can use as well. Some other things, you got your smartphone, right? So take pictures, create content with it, design stuff, create things, see what you can do with the limited amount of resources, because that's just you just never know what you can end up kind of like really diving into with just using your cell phone. A lot of our business when we first started was our cell phone. You know what I'm saying? It was
Mhm.
me on my cell phone, me on the computer, me using just the basic things that I had.
Mhm.
Also the library. The library is a really dope resource that I feel like it sounds cheesy, but it's free. And a
Mhm.
lot of times, your library, if you do have one that's close by, you could end up getting all those resources. Photoshop, Illustrator, After Effects, InDesign, all that stuff can end up being done
Mhm.
on a actual computer in the library. Because a lot of them, once again, libraries are really dope because they still want kids to come to the library, right? We
Yeah.
understand that things have changed and maybe everyone isn't reading books per se, but the
Mhm.
library is an amazing resource. Depending on the library in your city, state, town, wherever, some libraries have recording studios in play. Some libraries have film and photography studios in play with gear that you're able to rent and use. So sometimes it just takes you calling up a few in your city and really finding out, um, like, hey, is this a service you provide or something you offer? Or just looking up to see if that's a service that's provided in your city, state, town, wherever in general. Because it might not be a library, but it might
Mhm.
be a community center. That's like, hey, yeah, we got a computer lab. Nobody ever uses it. That's usually what I used to hear whenever I would go to the library and talk about
Mhm.
the resources. Like, yeah, nobody comes here and use it. Like, you could jump in there and have a blast, kid. And that was usually what it was. It was like, oh yeah, we got this $1 million whatever. Nobody comes here and checks that out.
Mhm.
If you want to hang out in there an extra 2 hours and create some stuff, do that. You know what I'm saying? And so that's another, saying, kind of tool. And then lastly, I mean, um, it might be kind of I don't do it as much, but just sketching and drawing.
Mhm.
If you're trying to really get into the craft, like just try to like map out what you think things should be, right? Map out if you see an idea, because you don't always have to have like you don't have to draw me to a T, but if you
Mhm.
can give me kind of like an idea, right? When you start to work with the designer, they can say, "Hey, have you thought of anything? Have you come up with any concepts?" And it's like, actually, yeah, here's an idea, right? And that designer or someone more experienced can kind of take your idea and then bring it to life. So sketching often, saying, just doodling. Whenever you see like commercials, videos on YouTube, any content that you're consuming, take your time and say, what would I do if I was the director? What would I
Mhm.
do if I was the designer? And if you have enough bandwidth, right, you're not working some crazy job and can't really put in extra time, sit down and say, okay, cool, I'm gonna remake this concept, right? I'm gonna redesign this ad, redesign this thing because they could have sold it more. Or what if you're focusing on a different demographic, right? So it's cool if it's appealing to white males, but what happens if this was created for Black women? What happens if this was created for an Asian Pacific community? What happens if this was made for elderly people? Right? There's all these different variations of how you can create that same
Mhm.
piece of content and flip it, 7 different ways. So those are some practical things to me that I
Mhm.
would, tell a student or a grown up, right? Because don't think because you're 65 that you can't start to become a designer. The reason why you'll be a better designer is because you have more life experience.
Mhm.
And people don't realize how much life experience plays into great design, or how much listening to music plays into great design. My former life was as an MC and a rapper. I freestyled campaigns that I end up using as content for my company.
Mhm.
And so you can use your life experience, you can use your background, you can use things that you've interacted with, cultural things too. Like if you're Hispanic, and I apologize if I'm using terms and phrases that might not be right. If you're Latinx
Mhm.
and you are, if there's a certain tribal thing that ends up being artwork that you see all throughout your city, spin that into your design. Spin that into the concept for your logo. If you're Jamaican American, and there's certain things that hint towards that, put that into your art. Put that into why you create and your why you come up with the concepts you come up with. Use everything around you to make that happen, and just keep trying stuff. And if you don't like it, keep it moving. But
Mhm.
try something. Get something new under your belt. Um, Look at other art too. Like, don't be in such a box. Look at other art. Get examples. Get ideas. And then just start bringing things to life. If I could give a last thing, if you don't start,
Mhm.
and all of the stuff I've given you is pointless, right? So
Exactly.
start something, create something, and finish it, even if it's ugly. Because that's one thing that we started, and it's like, oh, I don't like how it looks. And
Mhm.
then we'll just say, forget it. I'm not even going to focus on it anymore.
And honestly, you just dropped major keys right now, man. Like you just dropped something like if you're a graphic designer right now and you want to gain more experience, you want to really jumpstart, like, hey, why don't you build like a social media like presence all around recreating older promotional stuff, older branding stuff,
Yeah,
and putting your own spin on it. Putting your own
yeah,
spin on it. Just really putting, your own stuff in there and just trying to go, um, and just show your prowess, show your experience.
yeah.
That being said, I really want to know because I know with your business, social media was huge for it. Social media was huge
Mm-mm.
for it, and you're always growing, you're always evolving. How important is it for creators, for entrepreneurs to produce consistent content online?
So for me, it's a tricky one.
Mhm.
Because I think it's important and I don't think it's important at the same time, especially with the new algorithm, how like you might not get the likes and love you
You
should
normally
get,
would get,
even though
yeah.
even though your stuff is fire.
Mhm.
Um, but on the simplistic side of it, it's another space to be seen.
Mhm.
It's another space to have an impact. Don't think you, whatever your consistency is, stick with it, right? So you
Mhm.
don't need to post every day, but if
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I'm going to post once a week, then be
Mhm.
true to that. If you're going to post once a month, be true to that. If you know what you're doing has an impact and you know
Mhm.
it can and create something better, not only for you, but for others, then switch your thinking of like, I'm creating because I want to be seen, like, oh, I want this to be about me, and say, you know what, I'm creating for, and create your avatar, right? It might be your, how people say, what would you say if you go back to your 18-year-old self? Like maybe you're
Mhm.
creating content for your 18-year-old self, the stuff that he or she would have loved to see if
Mhm.
she had social media or he had social media. Create for that person, and then keep creating for that person, right? Use those little things to kind of drive you. I know some people say be selfless, do it for you, blah blah blah, but I don't know how to just make stuff for me, because
Yeah.
like if it was up to me, I would just sleep. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really want to, like, just being
I'll
honest,
be the same way. Be the same way.
but if I can think about, like, man, if I don't make this post today,
Mhm.
somebody might be missing out, or somebody might be impacted, or they may not go after their goals and dreams,
Mhm.
or love on their melon, whatever that case
Mhm.
may be. I'm gonna make sure that I post, that I share, that I create, that I come up with something that's just gonna help that next person go the distance. And whatever your consistency is, do that. Like I said, weekly, monthly. Some people have content that drops once a year, and their
Mhm.
entire year is prepping everyone for the 1 year drop. And if you think about it, it's actually kind of a fire concept, right? It's like,
Mhm.
look, I only drop at this time, but all the stuff you create all year round is literally pointing to this one time, which might even create a bigger buzz or energy. And then people at least know what's coming, because we post so much stuff sometimes we don't give people time to really like
Digest it.
digest what they saw. And
Mhm.
then we're posting a new thing. And it's like, bro, I don't know. Like, today you're a mailman, tomorrow you're a chemist. Like, yesterday you were a party promoter. Like, I don't really know. And then, you know, nothing wrong with having multiple passions, but like also don't be mad if people are confused because you're doing a
Mhm.
bunch of stuff too. So like
Yes.
just be mindful of those things, because those things can happen. Don't mean don't post all those things, but
Mhm.
just if you ever get to a point where like, man, why are people confused? Then just think about why that might be so.
Yes, and even on top of that, like just the advice of being more sparingly with the content you're producing, putting more emphasis into it. That's better to me than trying to just drop a bunch of stuff all at once on all platforms and hoping that something's going to catch.
Yeah.
You having that time to really develop what you're doing. And I know that we have had a lot of different advice given to us, like, hey, you need to drop once a day, or you need to drop, like 3 times a week or something like that. I think it's just more of providing value, even if it's once a month, even if it's, once a week, whatever, just looking at what's going to provide the most value to your audience. I think that that's
Yeah.
the
And then
more important thing.
And if you want to dig deeper, I mean, create
Hmm.
a real community, right? So maybe social media is just one avenue.
Hmm.
But like there's a couple creators that will throw us in a Facebook group, or they'll throw us in a WhatsApp group or a group me, where they get to tell you what they want all the time. And this specific group of people that's in this Facebook group, WhatsApp group, group me group, whatever,
Hmm.
they are ready for your content
Yeah,
because
they
they
are.
asked to join. Like they asked to join, they asked to be a part of your page, they subscribe to your channel. So for those things, yeah, go ham and drop content every day, right? Because that
Hmm.
audience is already plugged in to what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So also think about that. Maybe it's not for the hundreds of people on the gram that follow you.
Hmm.
Maybe it's for the 16 who just love everything you do. And if those 16 people gave you 100, 150, $200 every time you drop something, it's a lot of money. I'm not a math
Hmm.
guy, but you do your own math. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's powerful if you can get, that audience to, if you got those 16 people to share every time you drop something, even that would be fire because most times you're not going to get that on your own if you just post it randomly. So maybe it calls for making a more dialed in community that you can use to also leverage and create content for, or maybe that's where you test content first and say, hey, do y'all like it? Cool. The 16 that love you like it. So let me now post it to my page. But then now they probably feel like, wow, like
I
that
feel like
was
I'm
I
part of
helped make
something.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a part of something. You feel like you're being like you it's kind of like when you're at a job and you feel like you're like a spoke on the wheel. Now you're like, okay, I get to approve or I get to say like, hey, give my opinion on this. That makes me
Yeah.
feel more empowered.
Yeah.
That's how you go to build that brand. That's how you go to
Yeah.
do it. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna I actually have one more question for you before we get
Okay.
into our 2 minute pitch segment, my
Okay.
favorite
Okay.
part of the
Okay.
interviews. So speaking with like Oprah and Gary Vee and everything like that, I really want to ask you about the impact that Gary Vee has had on your career and everything like that, and being featured in his book Crushing It. Like, how did that come about? I know that um a lot of people who even watch our content loves Gary Vee, loves his
Mhm.
book. I even got like 3 of his books on my bookshelf right
Nice.
now. So
Okay.
like, how did that come about?
Yeah. So if you have the book Crushing It, we're on page
Hmm.
54, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Um, so making a long story really short, Gary posted something after a friend told me to watch all of his stuff. Like somebody told me many moons ago, watch every single thing he posts, and they gave me
Hmm.
this thing he used to do called the Ask Gary V Show.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. And then I got caught up to the point where the content was like regular, right? So it wasn't dated content anymore. We're kind of in the right stream.
Hmm.
And then he made a post. I was like, hey, look, it was kind of one of those Gary off the cuff moments. He's like, I got an idea. You know what? Email me. I'm going to take 49 people who email me. We're going to change your life. If you read the book, Crush It, and it gave you any hope, aspirations, helped you do anything, let us know. You might be in my new book, Crushing It. And I just, let's go. You know what I'm saying? It
Hmm.
kind of went off to the masses. Shot him an email that was like, hey, I read your book, Crush It. Um, it confirmed what I already knew, but you were the first person to confirm it. And because of that, we got here and network and this and that. Like,
Hmm.
thank you for confirming, like, help people, give, serve. Thanks for putting that out there because that's how I felt. You made me feel like I was seen. Dope.
Hmm.
Um, and then kind of fast forwarding, some of his teammates reached out to me and was like, "Hey, we'd love to actually like get you like an interview to talk about you being in the book."
Hmm.
And then they asked me, "How does June 28th sound for the interview?" And I said, "You know what? I think we can make that work." Them not knowing that June 28th is actually my birthday.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just like, okay, this is divine, this is God, so I'm gonna go ahead and run with it. And
Hmm.
then when they called me to do the interview, it was my 30th birthday. I was actually on a trip to Essence Fest because I just wanted to thank the people from Essence for just featuring us. You know, I just
Hmm.
thought it was amazing. I just wanted to just give them like I didn't know who I was gonna even go to see, but I just wanted to thank them for something. And so they were interviewing me, and I was like in a hostel or whatever you want to call it, trying to figure out where I'm gonna lay my head for the night
Hmm.
because my friends funded my trip to go to New Orleans. They sent me money to try to find a place to stay that night. Like
Hmm.
my friends just was like loving on me and say, "Hey, we got you." So when I was giving that interview, I was passionate. I was like, "Look, I need to make sure they choose me." Um, and then the girl was like, "All right, cool. Talk to you later." Afterwards, and I was like, "All right, well." And then what ended up happening was maybe a couple months before it dropped, I got tagged in a
Hmm.
post, and somebody was like, "Oh man, I love this story in this book." And in my head, I'm like, "What you talking about?" And then I saw it, and it was Gary Vee's book. So I guess what he did was he sent it out to maybe a bunch of influencers first to
Hmm.
kind of do first reads. And then I got tagged in the story. So I was like, "Oh man, I made it." Because they could have interviewed me and not put me in the book.
Yeah.
You know
They
what
could
I'm
have just used
saying?
it and been like, "Oh, we're gonna use it," or we might not even use it. Hmm.
Now, did this like increase my sales and all that stuff? Not necessarily, but what it
Hmm.
did do for me, um, it it allowed me to start talking to people about what I could do social
Mhm.
media wise and content creation wise because they read about me in the book, which
Mhm.
then led to me becoming like people's short form content creator for a couple of years. So that ended up getting me a lot more money than maybe
Mhm.
like sales and all that stuff because people are like, oh, you're in the book, so you must be dope at creating content and
Yeah.
posting to social media and all that stuff. So people started hiring me to do that for them in
Mhm.
real time. So I started to become other people's content creator for a bit, which is super dope. I didn't even realize, like, I knew you could make money off of that, but it wasn't until that book when I would meet people, I would say, "Oh yeah, I was featured in Gary." Oh, okay, cool. What? And they wanted to get to know me, which was
Mhm.
different. Nobody really ever wanted to get to know me. And then boom, I was like, "Hey, well, who's creating your content? Who's supporting your brand?" And I would always focus on really connecting with Black women because I'm like, "You're a baller. You're
Mhm.
changing the game. Who's filming you? Who's editing you? Nobody. My friend. No, 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 no.
Let me
Let
do
me
it.
do it.
Let me
Right,
do it.
right."
Yeah.
And that started to really get me into a space where I started creating content for a lot of really dope Black women in the industry. Um, so that impact was deeper. And to be honest, there's been some key people that I've met because of the book.
Mhm.
One guy named Jarvis, black guy. He saw that I was in the book. We connected, and we've been friends ever since 2018 when that book dropped.
Mhm.
We've prayed for each other. We talk about life stuff and where we want to go, and saying I've seen him grow and develop, and he's seen me grow and develop.
Mhm.
So like even that impact way more valuable than money,
Mhm.
way more valuable than anything I got monetarily or the exposure. And now I get to name drop
Mhm.
that friendship that I have with him now. His brand is called Be Limitless, so it's kind of like all like kind of fate, if you will.
Mhm.
Um, but that connection has been monumental, and there's no amount of money that could even account for that. So I'm just once again I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. I like being able to like use this as a tool to get into the room to share my story and my impact and shake up somebody else's life who's on the
Mhm.
other side because we need it, right? We need a couple features, saying like I need that feature with Jay-Z, right? I need that feature with Big Sean to say, hey, I'm a good rapper too, right? Like
Mhm.
those things matter. And then you start to listen to whoever this artist is like, let me go check them out. If Jay Z is listening to or featuring them, if this artist is rocking with them, if they're featuring with this person, like maybe I should go check out their discography too. And then all of a sudden you get a Kendrick or Cole or whatever. So hey, I think I'm just as a former artist, rapper, MC, I feel like I'm still on that same journey. It's just now happening through entrepreneurship and business
Mhm.
companies. Like these are my features, right? Like a rapper that's getting me on. So, oh, you work with okay, dope. Let's talk. And that gets
Mhm.
me a bigger moment, a bigger opportunity. And then eventually I'll be able to have my own label, right? And put people on and make sure other people are winning too. Cause that's really, I can't ever forget that. My goal is to make sure that I'm getting to a point where I can put everybody else in a position to win as well.
And that's incredible, and it's really speaks about who you are as a person and your character, that you want to do that, and you see that they need that, especially in the Black community, especially when we're entrepreneurs, we're creators, we're building our businesses, building our brands. We have to help each other elevate to get to
Yeah.
that next level and make
Right.
that a common thing. Make that a common thing. Right now, what I'm going to do, we're going to switch gears. We're going to be going to our 2 minute pitch segment. This is my favorite part of
Okay.
all interviews
Okay.
because in this 2 minutes, I put 2 minutes on the clock and I
Okay.
give you those 2 minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about pertaining to your brand, promote whatever you want to promote, and let us know what you got going on. So, to get started, I'm actually
Okay.
gonna put 2 minutes on the clock, man. We efficient about
Let me let me grab, what I wanna
it.
promote or the pitch or whatever, right?
All right, cool. So this is the 2 minutes
Okay.
starting. Oh, where's my finger? Okay, there's my finger. Starting now.
Cool. So this is your boy Nemo, CEO of Foolies Limited Clothing. Of course, grab you some apparel. TheFoolies.com is where you can find us, inspiring people to live out their goals and dreams, no matter how foolish it seems. If you're on Apple, not Apple, but Amazon, check us out. We have a affirmations book as well. Let me try to get the focus in if I can. Blue. Maybe people can see it. I don't know. Maybe they can, can't, whatever. So that's our affirmations book. A bunch of dope affirmations from my homies. Foolies approved. That's on Amazon. If you just need encouragement just to get through your day, get through your week, that's the book that you want to be opening up daily and just getting these nuggets and gems to take you to the next level. So while you're on the way to the dream, let's get you something to affirm that. And that's really it. Thefoolies.com is where you can get our apparel. Anything as far as our affirmations books will be on Amazon, Foolies approved. If you type that in, our content will come up. I got a business book on there that I've written, but I want to give the tools to make sure that you can reverse engineer what I've done and get further than me or get to where I'm at or whatever the case may be. There's no reason for me to keep these nuggets in my head and just keep it to myself. When I win, everybody wins. And so this is a testament of doing it. So that's where we are.
All right. And you completed it in 37 seconds left on the clock. 37. All right.
Hey, yeah, yeah.
Hey, and guys, you can find all of Alex's links, all of Numo's links in the description box. You can also find a link to the affirmation book as well in the description box below. I want to thank you again for coming in and having the pleasure to interview you and just to talk to you and just learn more about
Yeah,
what it is that you do because your information and your just everything, your backstory, what you do is really inspirational for a person like me who hasn't gotten to that point yet and wants to get to that point and want to help as many people as possible. But I also would like to turn it over to you one more time, and I will
okay.
let you pick what the question of the day is that you would voice to the audience.
So I'm just gonna come up with a question and then they're gonna okay. Um what is something that you've been putting off for some time now that you know you should be doing?
That's
That is the question.
got you. Got you. And guys, you can answer that question in the comment below. Um, but again, thank you for coming. I would like to thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share on all your social medias, especially if you found value in this interview. I'm Antoine. This is Mad Talk, and I will catch you in the next video. Have a great one.